Kirils was talking about like protecting its own data to be less manipulated by the ecosystem. And your talk was, in my view, saying that it doesn't matter what Kirils do, he will be still manipulated. So what amount of personalization is needed to be effective in manipulations? Like, how much this that we do to protect our individual traits protect us from the manipulation?
Should I start?
Yeah.
Well, I think the point is that our power is the ability to adjust, to adapt to new environments. And if you think about smart ID solutions, that's, I think, one very nice way to show how powerful we actually are. Now, the question whether we have a good tool to block our, let's say, ability, our manipulability, I don't think there is a good tool to do that. So one thing that my American colleagues were experimenting with was ability to understand that we might make errors. Okay, if we allow that, we could. If we can imagine that we might be erroneous, we are less let's say dangerous in terms of being manipulated. So, well, intellectual humility is a sort of tool that enables to be safer on digital interaction. But I think Kirils might have some more in-depth or kind of. This is what we. I mean, in cognitive psychology and psychology of perception, what we would say. So I don't think I don't think critical thinking is a tool for helping us to get away from manipulation. I don't think so.
Okay, Kirils, what was your take on the discussion?
I think I'm treading on Professor's turf here a bit, but I do think that human psychology is similar to how spam filters work. So let's say when you're creating an email service, you're building Gmail or you're building Inbox LV or Mail LV, you can decide where is the cutoff. Do I want more spam in my inbox, or do I want more legitimate email in my spam folder, right? And each of the services can decide that their own limit. And at least for myself personally, I feel like I can adjust that knob. It's a slow process, but I can adjust that knob for myself. So it's still, decisions are still fast. It's still based on my experiences, but just more of the good stuff goes to my suspicious folder in my head. And I've been. And now I have reported legitimate messages from Air Baltic as spam. Turns out is So that's one point. Second point, of course, one thing is how easy it is to manipulate someone like any one of you based on information about you. A different point is how much information do you need about your friend to manipulate you, and that's surprisingly small, right? That's usually a question that I ask the audience, but. It can start with a picture and a name. That's how much you need to manipulate you into believing that your friend is your friend somewhere online.
So if the kind of a premise was that we want to protect ourselves against manipulation by big companies in a digital environment, so what is the potential tool for that? How do we get people to, as you said, think that, well, they can be mistaken? In
privacy anarchist circles, there are many things that people discuss. One of the most controversial ones, I'm not sure if it's effective or not, but I'm very interested in that, is polluting the data sets. So, instead of having one customer card, you have 20 customer cards, and you swap them with your friends like every week, and then their data set is poisoned, basically. So that's just one of the tools. But there are many things you can do. But the question again comes to ethicality, right? For example, I think that people sometimes ask me is, knowing that I advise to not give your real name when you create a customer card, like a frequent buyer card, they ask me, so can I have 365 of them, so I get my birthday discount every every day. That's where I draw the line, right? That's broad. But if you have one and a random birth, that random name, I find that okay. So it's a balance.
But what to protect ourselves? What's your suggestion? You said that digital environment's very seductive, like the contagious emotions work there very well. We start feeling the emotions somebody claims to have. There's a rogue agent from St. Petersburg claiming that they are unsatisfied Latvian citizens with the government in Latvia, and soon enough, most of the Latvians in that social network will be unsatisfied with Latvian government.
Well, I'm afraid we don't have a very good solution. So this is the really troublesome story. So I mean, we all are super happy about ChatGPT and Gemini and all these fancy tools, but we don't have a single answer how to block these contagion effects, because they can be induced in arbitrary ways. So I mean, the problem is that there are neither technical nor psychological tools to block them. So I mean, in emotion research, one of the most frightening issues is that we can identify these contagious effects, right? So we can do that, but there are no tools to block them. So I mean, the thing is, one point is we can use our intellectual humility just to be cautious about, let's say, clicking and relying on the information that could be kind of on the friction of what we might find trustful. But okay, so I don't think it worked. I mean, I would probably slightly disagree with Kirils' point that we have the spam filter. I think we don't have that kind of spam filter. So probably do select information, of course, but we do run lots of emotional algorithms. We'll put it that way, that just do not operate in the same way as the spam filter. So it's kind of, they are functioning suboptimally, right? So,
but is it possible that we will in the future understand the user emotionally, like you said there? It's not personal, it's just the emotional picture of the person, and we can say that emotionally you should not touch any of the digital tools at the moment, because your hands have more energy than your head.
Yeah, actually, this is not that bad idea. Actually, there is a lot of work that could be implemented in that way. So, for instance, there's a lot of work on eye tracking, which is actually what my lab does. So we know what happens in those milliseconds. If you are frightened about something, if you are very worried about something, sort of intensity mapped with positive and negative emotions, you shouldn't do something serious, right?
Yeah.
So, but we know what happens with the eye movements. We also know what happens with our skin. I mean, we are starting to sweat in very fast way. Anyway, so this is something that could be in a way implemented. I mean, we have all smart devices around us. So technically, I think well, I mean, one point that could be probably done is to integrate those sensors into the way we use, and just to block us from acting in the situation where we might do some.
But that's probably back to Kirils' palm and then a bit of blood, and then this kind of a solution would be like, okay, now we want to track you even more to protect you from not being lured into some criminal activities or fraud.
Yeah, for sure.
And that would be like a huge privacy creep, I would say there.
Well, yes. Then again, you give more and more data to use that. Of course, that was part of my point in the presentation. But when looking at what Professor was presenting regarding all the perception illusions, I was thinking maybe we can implement that as captchas, or maybe as a way to decide humanity or reality of the user. Right? If you see stuff wrong, then you're human, because AI is getting better and better at doing stuff correctly.
Well, this is actually funny because there are algorithms generated for AI, and they are pretty good in detecting those illusions as well. And I think that human perception is absolutely awesome, and it's super interesting to work on the principles that show how we transform sensory input into perceptual results. But fair enough, this can be simulated. Of course, I mean, if we know how visual spatial processes operate, of course we can simulate. I mean, not all of them, but let's say a large part of them can be simulated.
To get to the previous point, do I get it right that you're implying that it is impossible to train any person to a satisfactory level to detect these kind of things? Like, I can't walk into, well, maybe I can, but most people can't walk into a bank and convince the teller to give just free money.
Okay.
We all need that lesson, how to do it.
Yeah.
So you're related, right?
So the thing is, if someone is asking, so give me your money. So this is a slow process. I mean, we are starting to think, where is this going? So this is a frightening, crazy person. We shouldn't give him money. Okay, I think it's not dangerous. So what is interesting? What happens in milliseconds before those conscious decision-making activity that we are operating? So this is what I'm interested in. So I mean, in the let's say the process of, let's say, 5 seconds, 10 minutes, or whatever, we can be cautious. We can kind of think, probably it's a bad idea to give, because we have no money for going to cinema later in the day. So I'm just wanting to say that it's very difficult to say how to get rid of those very fast manipulations.
Is there anybody who can be trained not to see the dots like in the faces? Is it possible?
No. So
No.
I mean, so of course you can know.
Yeah, you can know. It's
that's
okay.
it.
You still see them.
You still see them.
Yeah.
So that's
So
the point.
the observation regarding these millisecond decisions is actually a foundation of one of the security techniques in computer science. For some dialogues that pop up, you cannot press the button for the first 1 second, 2 seconds, sometimes 5 seconds. That's exactly the reason why user is not allowed to respond before they have time to think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but wanted to pick up something that you said as well in your slides about the discussion on the privacy. And I think that this is like so beyond us, but let's still discuss it a bit, like where and how big is a group who should come to a consensus about the privacy? Because the privacy is a very personal feeling. Like I feel that my privacy is breached personally. This isn't global phenomena. Like your privacy could be all okay, like, mine breached heavily. And how can I discuss that with a community?
It also depends on cultures as well.
Yeah.
But
And where would that discussion happen in your view, so that it would be helpful to actually create new digital tools
I do
and
think
services?
that the critical step before any discussion is to create a common understanding of value system. The goal of discussion might be to agree on values, but before that you have to have the system, your reference point. What are you talking about? So everyone should be educated first about the stuff that I talked about.
Because one of the things that we learn a lot, like, is exactly on this psychology about like how vulnerable we are to the technology that is understanding our vulnerability, and therefore the idea would be that we need more technology to protect us against that technology. And that is something that if we did have the discussion 10 years ago, we wouldn't know, and we wouldn't have the same privacy measures, because we have new knowledge all the time. Like it's always growing, this amount of data we have about why we behave, where we behave.
Well, you're right in a sense that we have to trust someone in the current world as it is. At least the government that issues the document. Right? Your business wouldn't be here if you couldn't trust a single government to prove identity of anyone, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be a trust anchor. My point is that privacy is about feeling. That was a quote from my presentation many years ago at your event. But privacy is also about choice, and it's about consent. So I think it's important for everyone to be able to decide what kind of data you give, to who you give the data to, and what are they allowed to do with the data. And herein comes the choice that we should be able to make, which is, do we want to give all the data every time to everybody? And I say no. I'm not even talking about criminals here, right? Let's say I'm buying a beer online. Do they need to know my name or my nationality, right? And that's where a tool comes in that provides partial identities, and I think that's a really, really good solution. So we trust someone, but then for everyone else, they know that we're over 18 or 21 or 40 or whatever.
Mm. But again, you have to trust the technology. To be fair, most of the people, if they say that, okay, this tool will now reveal only my age, they have no clue what actually happens.
Well, yeah,
there's a trust anchor there.
That's why there are people like me, right? Who society knows that I will be the first one shouting from the bottom of my lungs that if someone is scamming you that way, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also to stop. I have thought that if everybody would be like Kirils, that what would happen. But that's probably not going to happen. But for yourself, like, what do you think? What this world would be like?
Well, there'll be much less disagreement. Like, but it's not about if everyone was just one person. Yeah. No, but
I mean, like poking the service providers all the time. Like, why do you do this? Like, poking the German police of all the potential things in the world.
They never responded to my inquiries, so now the State Data Protection Authority is investigating German police. But the federal one, yeah. So I think it'd be great because currently, what I believe GDPR basically gives work to some lawyers, which is not a bad thing in itself, but gives work to some lawyers with the goal to find the way around the fines. That's the main driver, main motivator there, which is not right. Now, if let's say not every customer, if every second customer was like me, then they'd have huge motivation to actually fix the things and only take the data they need. Every time I ask in an airport shop, why do you need to know my seat number? They have no idea. But it's there in the receipt. Why? I don't know. Maybe someone's here from the aviation industry. Yeah. So these things have to be challenged, I believe, and that's how we achieve the data minimization, which is one of the security goals. I think the less data there is, the less data can be leaked.
Do you have like a personal opinion on the data collection part? Is it helpful?
Well, I think one personal, from my research perspective, comment. The question about privacy has two sides. So, one is the legal side, and that's what Kirils was touching. But there's another one. That's the perceived privacy or psychological privacy. And then the question is, for instance, I would probably not care about the airport shop, grocery, whatever, person who is asking a boarding pass. Well, so what? So she or he can see my seat number. So what? So the thing is simply, what do we consider as the threshold of privacy? Mm-hmm. And that's a very interesting question. I think lots of troubles, also legal troubles, are because of the fact that people are not aware of the optimal threshold of privacy. That's one problem. Actually, there's one issue that at some point, I think either Kirils or you, both, but kind of implicitly touching. So the point about financial transactions is basically that we should be safe, okay? But so what should we sacrifice? Okay, so the privacy or whatever. Now the simple issue is that if you are not feeling safe, it depends on the degree of privacy. Of course, we are not optimal in terms of our decisions. So, if we are thinking that possibly we might be hacked, we are behaving in a kind of a suboptimal way. Mm-hmm. Or if we think that someone is manipulating, again we are acting in a kind of suboptimal way. So I think, and this is a psychological issue actually, how to secure the feeling of being safe in financial or whatever kind of important transactions. In the last century, there was a technical term in Xerox company, calm computing, which means that people who are safe about what they are doing, they are more successful, they are performing better, right? So, and I think if thinking about smart identity solutions, the great thing is to somehow to guarantee those users that they feel safe about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Then they are doing smarter decisions, smarter financial decisions. They're just feeling better. They have this calm computing environment.
Okay.
Just one thought that came to my mind that might be not necessarily the technological issue, maybe psychological issue I'm using.
But maybe to close it up really for the cake, because the cake will come. In your view, like, in the process where we are at, like the society, like, are we going to the more anxious, more irrational, more emotionally negatively impacted society now in the coming 1-2 years, or rather we go to this calm computing, rather more safe and secure environments? Is there any hope or no hope?
Well, I can just attest to what I see online. What's happening? It's all going to hell quite quickly. People are super nervous, and it's understandable. And my second slide, all these things happening in the world, affecting people's private lives. Obviously, they are more nervous in everyday lives and at devices as well. So I think it's going to get worse. Maybe it's going to get worse before it's going to get better. But it's going to get worse for sure. Sorry to not be the optimist here.
So let me take the role of optimist. So I think evolutionary scene. So just let's look at us from the perspective of evolution. So just hundreds of thousands of years. So what happens with us? We are adjusting. We are adapting to new environments, and of course we are paying something. Of course we are paying with our emotional resilience. Whatever, we are doing something. I think in the long run, nothing bad will happen. We will just adapt to new environments. We will kind of have a new tools for emotional regulations. Of course, we will pay something, so we will be more anxious, most likely. But I don't think it's something in the long run troubleful. I mean, there's always short-term troubles and issues, and there are long-term troubles and issues. And I think in long term, we will just adjust and adapt to those new environments. The question is always what will be the price.
Always amazes me, like how we can be so anxious, so unsatisfied, so critical in a point that where we are living the life that probably even like 100 years ago royalties would enjoy and would trash that as a kind of highest peak of their comfort, because I think that we all enjoy something that most of our ancients have never ever had, but we are anxious as hell. Sorry, we really are not satisfied with anything. But I agree with you. The future is even more anxious and critical. So thank you very much for that. We close with that. Thank you, gentlemen. And you will be closing the...
I'll take it over. Thank you, gentlemen, for this pleasant dessert of information for our minds. A round of applause to the gentlemen. They deserve it. All right.